Hey everybody, so yeah, we're right in the middle of a bug that like if you're coding and you're deep in this, you're thinking to yourself, this is what I'm always thinking to myself. Oh man, this is a bug in ThreeJS, or oh man, this is a bug in Angular, or oh man, this is something. But I would say at this point, I would say I have 75% chance that this is just some goofy bug of something where I'm just missing something. And then I would say that there's probably like a 15% chance that it's something in 3GS. Like 3GS is just doing something weird when I add this light, this target light object into the scene, and who knows what that might be. And then there's a teeny tiny percent chance that it's some kind of angler thing, and then there's a everything else is probably just like something else. But if it's not one of the 75% where I figure out it's something I did, then we probably won't even be able to figure out which one it is. You know, if it's an Angular thing or a 3JS thing or some other thing. But here's what I got. I'm saying that I'm going to, when I create a light item and it's a spotlight, if that spotlight doesn't have a target ID, like if the target ID hasn't been populated, then go ahead and create a target ID and then um, add it to the scene. Okay, so here's what we do know. We know that with spotlights, unlike cameras, you can't just point them at a location. You have to point them at a target, and then you have to move the target to a location. Uh, um, so we know that. That's something we do know. What and then we know that you can create like just any 3JS object ID, and you can do that. And I had 2 videos back, I actually did set the location of the position of the target ID, and it did move it. So we know that works. But what seems like what's happening is that when I go to change the location, the target is a different object, and that's what it seems like it's saying. And here's what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to create a light. You're not going to be able to see it. Okay, so because you cannot see lights in 3JS if they don't have it. So I'm just going to set its position to 1. So basically, what I'm saying is that the spotlight is here, and it's pointing at by default it points at 0, 0, 0. And now what I'm going to do is um, I'm going to clear anything I might have in my console. And I have a console log that when you create what am I doing? What am I doing? When I create I if there's a spotlight, it will log out the target. It'll the light item itself. It'll log out the target, and then and that's the actual target, and then it'll log out the scene, um, so we can see what's in the scene. Okay, so um, I'll show you what happens. We'll go back to here, and we'll come and we'll change this to a spotlight. All right, so basically here's the actual light thing that the light. Okay, the non-heavy light descriptor. We describe it this way, and it has a target, and that target has an ID of 18. And then this is our actual light. Okay, so this is a 3JS. It's a 3JS light, and it has an ID of, well, so that has an ID of 18. And I'm saying that my target's ID is 18, and I'm saying that my ID is 15. Oh, okay. This is the actual. Let's look at the code. Okay, this is the target. Okay, so I actually just is the target. So I agree, right? So I have a target and I say the ID is 18. I look at the object and it says that the ID is 18. And now we'll look at the scene, and it should have a couple of items in it. Has 2 children. It has a spotlight and the target. Now we look at the target, and the target has an ID of 18. Okay, so that seems right. Okay, we have, yeah, so that seems right. Okay, so I'm going to add a mesh. Mesh, and I'm going to give it a width of 100. Oh, not 1 minus 100. A height of 100, and I'm going to make it a Fong. And there's our spotlight pointed right at this object. Okay, so now the idea is I should be able to close this up. Let's close that up. Let's close that up. Okay, we got, oh, computing radius of nan. I don't know what that is. 13. Okay, when it's going to render, that is interesting. I don't know what that is. Okay, so let's go ahead, and that might be the actual problem, but I'm going to change the X target. So I'm going to try to move it to where it's pointing to the left one. Okay, so it changed size, which is very strange. Okay, so my spotlight seems to have a, I don't remember, I thought it was a ID of 16 last time, but oh no, yeah, that's right. Okay, so I don't know what this ID up here is that it's showing, but and then let's look at our target. If I remember correctly from last time, the target's ID was, I don't see target in here. Okay, so, well, this is a heavy one. Okay, oh, okay, I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, so ID of 15. I thought it was an ID of 16. The target, well, so the target's ID is 18. Yeah, that is wrong. Okay, so now let's look at this guy, and it'll agree. Okay, so his ID is 16. I don't understand why my ID up here is 15 now. Interesting. Okay. So, and then my target is, I don't have a target. That would explain it. Okay, so this guy is 15. Okay, let's look at the scene. Okay, so it's looking more and more like I just did something silly. Okay, so my spotlight. Okay, so now I have 3 things. Okay, so that's, oh, that's the mesh. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so this guy is, the first thing is the spotlight, and it has a ID of 15, and and it has a target, and its target has an ID of 16. Okay, that is very, very unusual. It's got me thinking. Okay, let's look at the other child. Okay, we're at the scene. We're looking at the children. We're looking at the first one. It's definitely, we're out of sync on the IDs. So, and I think that's probably a really strong indicator that I've done something wrong. And I don't understand why ID isn't here. Why ID is way down here. That's weird. But ID is 15 here. It's a spotlight with an ID of 15. And I have, oh, a spotlight of ID 15. And I have a target that has an ID of 16, which 16 used to be the regular value. And then this is my target that I added, and it has an ID of 18, which that was the original thing. So somehow yeah, that's weird. Okay, I'm just going to restart. Let's add our light, add the light, edit it. Let's go ahead and make it a spotlight. Stuff happens. We have an ID of 15, and this is our target, has an ID of 18. Okay. So now if I move it by 1, okay, we still have an ID of 15. Let's see, does this have an ID of 18? See, this has an ID of 16 now. And then in the scene, it has an ID of, it has 2 children, the spotlight and the object. And the object, the target has an ID of 18. This object has, man, I wish ID was up, an ID of 16. So, and then that has the new position, I'm guessing. This target. Yeah. So this target of 16 one has the position that I just added. And in my code, I set the X and Y of the spotlight's target. But for some reason, the spotlight's target I wonder if I ended up in here again somehow. Okay, so I'm just going to put a debug statement. Okay, right there. Let's restart. Let's do this again. Okay, we'll add our light. We should not hit the debug statement. Edit. We will go ahead and change this to a spotlight. We hit the debug statement. Boom. We'll change its X target position and see if we hit the debug. We did not hit the debug. So for some reason, this ID so I'm just going to put a debug here now. Make it 2. Okay, let's just max that out. Move this over here. Okay, so my light item has an ID of 15. My light itself has an ID of 15. Okay, what is the other thing? My spotlight target. So spotlight. On his target, who is there and has an ID of 16. Is that right? Yeah, it's just a lot to keep in your head. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go primitives on these so that they can't change. Okay. Okay, so we're going to print out the ID first. And then we're going to print out, let's just go ahead and go on another line. Spotlight item ID is spotlight target ID. And that should be item. And then console. And this is actually going to be the ThreeJS Spotlight. So I'm not going to put item next to it. And then last but not least, the target. So right now, all I'm doing is just kind of poking around, just hoping to find something will present itself. Console. Let's go ahead and put it there. Let's go ahead and add a light. Form. Put that to 1. Convert it to a spotlight. All right, so it's 15, 18, 13, 18. Okay, so the spotlight item and the spotlight itself are out of sync. That's a problem right off the bat. Okay. And this could be a timing issue. Okay, so spotlight gets created right here. So if item as spotlight, and then I need to update the spotlight ID. Okay, so one thing that was different about lights than meshes is when I would change a mesh from one kind of mesh to another kind of mesh, it would maintain its ID, but with lights, it wasn't. And that was just seemed to be a weird little thing in ThreeJS. Now, I don't know when. Okay, so here's where I'll take the previous ID and I'll grab it, and then I'll take light. I'll find my supported lights. And then I remove the lights from the list, and then I add light item, but I don't see where I constant new light, create my new light. Yeah, I have some sort of bug in here. I don't know if this is definitely a bug. I should definitely have this. Where do I create the new light though? So see, okay, so I say, hey, if it's a light, update light. If it's a light, if the light type has changed, so we're in here, we grab the old light item ID and we make it the previous. And then I go find the light itself, the actual ThreeJS light. And then I go and I remove it from that, and I move it from my scene. And then I add the light item, which is fine. And then, because that's just a reference. And then I create a new light. No, I don't. Where do I create the new? Okay, so I say, hey, if it's a spotlight, do that. I don't know where it ever becomes back. Okay, so if light is equal to spotlight, light as spotlight. When did it become a spotlight though? This is so weird. Let me just maximize that. All right, so I go to update my light. I find it. I find the actual physical light or the ThreeJS light. I say, hey, if I find it and it's changed, then save the previous ID. That makes sense. Go ahead and grab that light out of the list. Find a reference to that light, and then update the lights list to remove that light. Go in scenes and remove that light. Then I say this add, oh, okay, so this dot add light adds the new, oh, okay, so this add light adds the new light item. Okay, so if we go there, then that probably updates the ID. Find, yeah, it'll create a new light or a point light. And then I say, hey, update my light item ID. And so that light item ID should, at this point, be updated. And so I've called to create the new one, and it should have updated with the new ID. And then I say, hey, if it's a point light, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Oh, that's add. I didn't go far enough back. I need to go back to update. All right. Okay, where's the part where I add the light? So the light ID should have changed at this point for the light item. So this add light item, and then new light is equal to, it says go in the lights and find it, and then if it's animated, do this, and then set that. And then I just say, hey, if it's a light type spotlight, then then basically declare it as a spotlight. Okay, because I just checked, it's fine. It's a spotlight. Set its angle, set its penumbra, set its decay. If it doesn't have a target ID, oh, okay. So I guess that code, actually, that console log did make sense. So the spotlight's 13. I don't know. It's yeah, because it was 15. Well, it shouldn't have been 15 at that point. Okay. So anyways, let's see what happens. I'm going to change this. Okay, light item is 15, but see my target changed to 16. And I think that is the problem, is the target is changing to 16. I think I figured that out last time. Let's try to make this 2 and see if it stays at 16. Okay, so we still have the same problem, and that's kind of good. Let's clear this, make it 3. Okay. So 321. 321. So the spotlight's target ID is out of sync. Okay, so at this point, I would say I'm like 99% sure that this is something goofy that I'm doing um, in this code. This spotlight has been a real challenge because ThreeJS is just a little different in the way that it does lights. One, than meshes. So it forced me to manage these ID changes, and then it's doing the look at different than the other one. So, um, so with those sort of two moving parts, the code just got very complicated. So I'm going to sign out of this video and see if I can figure this out. I think I'll probably commit the code that I have so that we can see what the change was next time. But anyways, everybody, wish me luck and happy coding. Bye.